That moves us to number 10 on our agenda, which is the approval of the January 22nd board meeting. Do I have a motion, Mr. Hogan?
I'd make the motion to approve the minutes of the January 22nd, 2024 board meeting.
Do I have a second? Ms. Huddle, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That motion carries 7-0. Number 11 on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the January 24th special called board meeting. Do I have a motion? Mr. Hogan.
Make the motion to approve the minutes of the January 24th or 2024 special called board meeting.
Do I have a second? Ms. Barnhart. I saw Ms. Barnhart first. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion carries 7-0. And that moves us to number 12 on our agenda, public participation. Before we, no,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Anything else, Mr. Hogan? All right, that moves us to number 12 on our agenda, public participation. The board welcomes and encourages public participation. We respectfully ask that you adhere to the procedures provided in board policy BEDH, public participation at meetings. Your comments should be limited to 3 minutes and must remain on either the topic noted on your sign-in form or a listed agenda item. Questions asked during public participation will be handled in accordance with board policy BEDH. Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Erin Parker is here to speak about district culture.
My name is Erin Parker, and this is my 4th year serving as the librarian at Irmo High School. 2 weeks ago, I was taken from the library and put in Capturing the Kids' Heart training, which is described as a culture-shifting program that equips teachers, coaches, administrators, district leaders with the tools to strengthen the trust between teachers and students. As part of this training, we were asked to share something important to us or of sentimental value. I simply shared that I was reading a book and stated that it was one that I wanted to read for some time, and I'd finally worked up the courage to read it. The colleagues from around the district were intrigued by this book and questioned what it was about or if it was one of those books people want to ban. I got so overwhelmed with the question that I left the room in tears. The book, Grace Will Lead Us Home, is how I ended up at Irmo High School. In 2015, I was a public librarian who had just moved back to Columbia from Charleston. On June 17, 2015, my former boss and a former student were killed in a mass shooting at a church. On June 18th, I learned that the gunman used to frequent the library where I presently worked. On June 18, 2015, the way I looked at people and how I treated people and the culture that I try to foster drastically changed. I struggled internally with what we were learning at Capture Kids' Hearts training because the culture of the program, to me, seemed to directly conflict with the present culture of Lexington Richland 5. There is no trust between the school board and teachers, and at times administration and teachers, so I am unclear how we are to build such trust between teachers and students. Since I began employment at Lexridge 5 as a librarian, I have felt unsettled. In January 2022, I watched silently as I was attacked at a school board meeting and on social media over a book with people saying I'd purchased porn, was a pedophile, and needed to be arrested. I watched silently while a fellow district librarian was bashed by a school board member as part of her platform on an election over book censorship. I watched silently while proper policy and procedure regarding challenged materials was not followed regarding a lesson by a teacher at Chapin High. I even watched silently over the last 2 weeks while a student at Chapin who boldly spoke her truth at a school board meeting was attacked on social media. What kind of culture is this district fostering? I love Irmo and I love my students, and I deeply feel that I am making a lasting impact on them, not just through literacy, but by simply being a kind person that they can come to. I do not love the culture this district is presently cultivating. This board is creating an us versus them mentality that is making it difficult for teachers in our community, and it will ultimately make it difficult for us in the school building. We cannot capture kids' hearts when the leadership of this district is failing to capture ours. I warmly invite each of you to come visit me at Irmo High School, to visit the library, and perhaps better understand and gain an appreciation for the work that my colleagues and I are doing. I feel that D5 libraries are quickly becoming a place where librarians are vilified. Ta-Nehisi Coates said, "I was made for the library, not the classroom. The classroom was a jail of other people's interests. The library was open, unending, and free. I want you to meet my students and see my work and experience my students' interests, and yes, even the books I've purchased. If we want to capture hearts, perhaps it's time for the adults in power to do the work first."
Ayana Mays is here to speak about district culture and environment.
Greetings. As the board recently adopted a revised policy regarding its accountability and commitment to accomplishment, I am here to ask you to further reflect on your role, responsibility, and authority as a school board, and to implore you to revisit your goal to serve as advocates for our students. I have not been to every board meeting or seen every Facebook post, but I have picked up on some differences in opinion between school board members, staff, and parents in this district. I have been a parent in this district for 8 years and a librarian here for 3, and the actions of the board have been soberly disappointing. I witnessed you encourage conflict between community members and the schools that you govern, by publicly thinking aloud about the validity of instructional material and the decisions made by our highly qualified school staff. I have been subjected to bashing on social media by a school board candidate who now sits on the board. Attacking the instructional and programmatic decisions of your staff should not be a tactic for gaining community support, yet this seems to be acceptable behavior in this district. I have a phone and an email address that you can use anytime you have a concern about a professional decision I have made. If you want to use a public forum, please include me so that we can foster communication and develop a relationship between all stakeholders in our community for the benefit of our students. Due to the toxic adversarial environment that this board has created, students are now directly impacted. Students are taking cues from us on how to resolve differences. The division between school and community has become palpable to students, and I believe the board is responsible for demonstrating balance and equitable leadership and repairing the damage. You are not capturing kids' hearts or helping to love and grow anyone when you ban a series of books beloved by students without following your own policy, which you passed after altering the recommendations from school librarians in this district. Why even ask for input? Since you banned these books without a formal challenge, I had to collect a book from a very confused student in the midst of midterm exam week, days prior to its due date. All I could say is, you did nothing wrong. The district just decided not to carry these books anymore. Don't leave here painting that child or me as a deviant and congratulate yourself for saving an impressionable mind. Over the past 3 years, all I have seen you do is push parents, students, teachers, and yourselves further into separate corners. Now it is your duty to address what it really means to advocate for all students and bring us back to the middle. Otherwise, this will be your failure and your legacy in Lexington Richland 5.
Tim Graham is here to speak about book banning.
Well, I was hoping nobody would bring this up tonight because I didn't really want to touch on it. But first off, I'd like to commend the board for your courageous, and I might add correct decision to remove or restrict the Court of Mist and Fury from District 5 school libraries. I'm only going to speak about that book because I don't know anything about the rest of the series, but I know a little bit about that book. Ever since you made this decision way back in December, I've heard a lot of people address the evils of book banning, and I agree, book banning is bad. It's a restriction of free speech, but this is not book banning. All you've done is said the book is inappropriate for our high schools in the District 5. And there are thousands of books that are published every year, and not all of them get into every library. And so every once in a while, you make a decision that this one doesn't need to be in the library. The book that we're discussing is available in public libraries, and it's available on Amazon for $13, so it's not book banning. Another thing, I don't know whether the teachers are assigning this book or whether it's just available in the library, but either way, my question is why? I know it's a fantasy, and it may be, a good story, but there are also passages in it which can only be described as pornographic. So what makes this book so important? There are a lot of good fantasies out there. We got J.R. Tolkien, J.K. Rowling, J.R.R. Tolkien, and C.S. Lewis. So why is this book so necessary? Finally, I've heard it said that it's up to parents to decide, and I agree 100%. But how many parents really monitor the books their kids are reading? And if it comes from the school, what do most parents think? This is a good book. Probably, So again, I say it is available. If the parents want their kids to read it, the kids want to read it, the parents are all right with it, you can find it. It's not book banning just because it's not in the library. And so I commend you once again. Thank you for making the correct decision.
Madam Chair, that concludes public participation.
All right.